This is lesson 9's video, and so we're going to jump right in talking about sharps and flats. And actually today we're going to talk about is sharps, okay? When we write sharps, we always write them in the same order and in the same place on the staff, okay? So remember that first of all, we always write them in this order. F, C, G, D, A, E, B, okay? So F sharp is always first, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, B sharp. So just to kind of give you a help on how to remember that, you can think fat cats go down alleys eating burgers, okay? I had one student that liked to say burritos. You could pick whatever food you wanted that started, or whatever you think fat cats would eat. Fat cats go down alleys eating beignets. Fat cats go down alleys eating burritos. Bugs. What else could you think of? Anything that starts with a B. Fat cats go down alleys eating something starts with a B, okay? Now, for the treble clef, we'll start here for violins. Violas and cellos, this is true for you as well. The sharps, we always start high. So I think the way to remember it is sharps make the note go higher. So you start higher on the staff, okay? So for violins, the first sharp is up here. F sharp, C sharp. Now, yes, I know that F sharp is down here, but when we write it in a key signature or at the beginning of a line, it always goes at the top. F, C, then G goes back up. High, then go down, low, high. So F, C, G, then back down. D. Now A. Well, we don't put a sharp on a ledger line, so we're going to have to go down for this one. Usually it goes up, up, down, up, down, up, down, okay? But we can't go up, and we aren't going to do a ledger line. So it's going to go high, low, low, okay? Then back up to E, E, and then B. High, low, low, high, low, okay? High, low, low, high, low. Okay, so you can remember that. Bass clef, cellos. You start here, high on this F, low, C, G, D, A, there's your low, low, low. That's the one I always forget. High, low, low. F, C, G, D, A, E, and then back down low. B. Okay? F, C, G. So this G can't come down here. It has to stay up here. So these sharps always go in this order, and they're always on these lines and spaces. Alto clef. Okay, this one is not my normal clef, so I have to make sure I'm telling you correctly on alto clef. I have to think really hard. This is new for you guys, and so I feel your pain. F, then we go down here to C, okay? Back up to G, then back down to D, and then we go down again for A, back up for E, and then down for B. Yes. So F, C, G, D, A, E, B. So you can see all of them, whatever your clef is, goes high, low, low, high, low. Okay? So on your worksheet, there are 2 review questions from last week, where it says you have to write the major scale pattern, so tonic, and then what is the whole step? What I'm looking for right there is the whole step and half step pattern. So after you have the keynote, what's the first interval? Is it a whole step or half step? Do you remember? We worked hard when we worked hard. So whole tonic, then whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Half steps that use the same letter are called, so C to C sharp is what kind of half step? I know it's a half step, but what kind of half step? And then C to D flat is what kind of half step? They use a different letter, okay? And if you need to look back at last week's worksheets, go ahead and do that. That's fine. Key signature is found at the beginning of every staff. It's always to the right of the clef on the staff lines. And it tells us the sharps or the flats that are used in that key, okay? And they're always in the same order. Here's all your sharps. So we've got fat cats go down alleys eating burgers. Put whatever you want in there. For the letter B. It has to start with the letter B, though. That's the point. Is then F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Then I want you down here, number 4, write the sharps in order. So F, C, G, D, A, E, B, and then draw them. And you can copy. Like, look up here, but make sure you get them in the right lines or in the right spaces. Okay? Now, the next page, this is sort of review from what we did last week. It's very similar to what we did last week, but you have one more step to do. Okay? And it's an easy step, but it's a very important step. So let me grab my whiteboard and then we will jump into that. Okay, so we have our major scale pattern. Okay, it's our key note or the tonic, and that's our first note. Okay, so let's do the key of A. So treble clef, we're going to start on A. And then I know that it's going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So I'm going to go ahead and write those notes in. Okay, so those are my notes for the A scale. But if you were to play this, it would not be an A major scale. It's a minor scale because it's not following the right whole step and half step patterns. So here's my key note, and I know I need worked hard when we worked hard. Okay, so the half step comes between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. So my little arrow to show that those are the half steps. So A to B, is that a half step or a whole step? I need it to be a whole step. So A to B is a whole step. So I leave that alone. Okay, B to C, that needs to be a whole step. Well, B to C, not C sharp, but B to C is a half step because my fingers are right next to each other. So I have to make this a whole step. So what do I need to do to this note to make it a whole step? I need to add a sharp. So I'm going to add a sharp to the second note. So now I have A, B, C sharp. Okay, so now I need C sharp to D. Is that a half step? It's showing because of my little arrow here that it's a half step. Is it? Yes, C sharp to D is a half step. So I don't have to do anything to D. I'm good. D to E. Because I don't have an arrow, then it's a whole step. So now, is D to E, or it's supposed to be a whole step, is D to E a whole step? So D, I could do a high 3D and get to E. So yes, that's good. E to F. E to F. Or on your E string violins, E to F, not F sharp, it's a low 1. That's a half step. So I'm going to have, but I don't have a TP here, or a little arrow. So I have to do something to this F in order to make it a whole step. So I have to add a sharp so it goes up. Okay, so now E to F sharp to G. That has to be a whole step as well. Is that a whole step? No, okay? So now we have to add a sharp here. F sharp to G sharp, and then G sharp to A. Okay, so that's a half step as well. Okay, so A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. There's my A scale. Okay, what sharps did I use? So F sharp, I did C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp, right? Okay, now think about the order of the sharps. Fat, cats, go. Hey, that's the first 3 sharps. So I take these 3 sharps, and now I'm going to write them not in the order that they're in the scale. So I'm not going to write C, F, G. I'm going to write F, C, G because I always have to write them in this order, okay? So F, fat, cats, go. The key of A, key signature, uses these 3 sharps, and I just put them in the order of the sharps. Fat cats go down alleys, because they always have to write in this order for a key signature. It doesn't mean that this is still right, okay? So this is how we get our key signatures. It's based on this. But you have to write your sharps for the key signature in the order of the sharps in the right spot on the staff, okay? So many steps. We just keep layering on more, okay? So that's why it's so important to make sure you understand every step, because if you don't get one of these steps and we keep like piling on more, then you're going to be lost and confused and frustrated, and that's no fun for anybody. So I hope all of this makes sense. You can do it for any scale, whatever. You write your sharps, and then you have to write them in the order of the sharps, okay? So this week on your worksheet, you're doing C, G, D, and A, okay? So write the scale, write the letters, mark the half steps, and then once you get it, you're gonna write the key signature in this measure at the end, okay? But make sure that you write the sharps that you use in the scale, not in the order that they happen in the scale, but in the order of the sharps, which is fat cats go down alleys eating burgers, right? Okay, so then on the very last page, let me grab that one. The very last page, I gave you just the key signatures, okay? So based on these key signatures, what scale uses these, okay? You're gonna have just worked on that on the page before, and whatever that key signature is, the name of the scale is the name of the key, okay? So that's what goes here. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Okay, then we're going to talk about just a few things that I want you to read, okay? There's nothing for you to do here, but you need to read and be familiar with it. I think all of this stuff, for those of you who are in Theory 3, you should know all of this, but you may not have, you may just kind of like know what it is, but not know what it's called, okay? So articulation. Articulation is a big category. And what it refers to is the start and the stop of a note. How we attack the note, how we start a note, every note, and how a note ends. It could refer to anything about how the note starts and how the note stops, okay? So we call it articulation. The bow does most of the work in articulation. Now, our left hand does do some. It does have an influence in it, but the bow is the start. It's actually how the sound is being produced. So your right hand, your bow hand, is going to be the main part of your body that this refers to, okay? And the bow that does all the work. Okay, staccato. Staccato is short and detached is what it means. And it's marked in your music with a dot. And the dot goes by the note head, okay? You've probably seen this and you know what it means, but you haven't like actually thought, oh, the dot is always by the note head. Okay, so if you're gonna have to write them next week, I'm gonna have you fill in some markings, some articulation markings, and you're going to have to write them. So the dot goes by the note head. Accent. Accent means to play this note louder than the other notes, okay? And it's usually a little arrow, the tip of an arrow. And again, it is by the note head. So here I give you two examples with the stem going up and with the stem going down. And the accents are above it, okay? Legato. Legato means smooth and connected. It could mean that you slur the bow. It could mean separate bows. It means that the notes are connected. There's no stop in the sound. So often legato we do use slurs to do that, and a slur is one or more notes on one bow stroke. I'm sorry, a slur is two or more notes on one bow stroke. I got the one bow stroke mixed up. So two or more notes on one bow stroke is a slur. So here we're slurring 4 notes together, okay? Slurred bows are marked with a curved line from one note head to another note head, okay? And you can see that all of the notes under that slur mean they're on one bow stroke. Détaché, so it's French, and it means separate bows. It's long, broad bow strokes. There's no extra markings for this. This is kind of the, I had a teacher once that called it the utility bow stroke. It's the one that we use the most, that we learn from the very beginning. It's just a bow stroke that doesn't have anything special with it, okay? It's détaché. It's, but you just need to be familiar with that word, okay? Spiccato is a bouncing bow. It's marked with a dot, so it's like staccato, okay? So it looks exactly the same as staccato. The dot is by the note head. It's above or below the note head. It's not on the side. And then l'oreille or portato. This is where we do soft stops between the notes, but they are on the same bow stroke. So those are marked with dashes, okay? And if you notice, you have the slur, but there are still the dashes above the note head or below the note head, okay? So if the stem is going up, the dash goes under the note. If the stem is going down, the dash goes above the note, okay? So make sure you know what these terms mean and what it looks like on the page, because next week you're going to be adding in some of those markings on the page so that you can get a feel for what that looks like. Okay, that's it for this week. Have a great week, you guys, and I'll see you next week.